Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an update on the health of Kentucky House Majority Floor Leader John Van Carney. And a new proposal by members of the United Methodist Church could create a split in the denomination over differing views on same-sex marriage. Plus, a community staple in Martin County will be locking up for the last time today after more than 60 years of service.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:33 on January 6th. I'm Madison Pergram, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News This Morning on this Monday morning. If you're just getting up, it's a little chilly outside, but today in the studio, it's even colder. Let's go to Brandon Robinson. And Brandon, we were talking about it. You have your toboggan on all morning in between commercial breaks, and my nose is running. It's so cold in here.
It is a little bit chilly this morning. Cold outside means it's sometimes a little cooler in here, but it is chilly for those folks going back to school after the holiday break there this morning. Well, a lot of folks are getting up and like, why are you saying that? Well, listen, we didn't get the break off, so you had 2 weeks. It's time to go back. Let's take a look, see what's going on across the region outside the WYMT studios. We're looking again at clear skies this morning. Not too much going on if we head out, so it's at least a nice morning to head back to work and school if you're coming back off the break there. 24 Monticello, 28 London, 33 here in Hazard, 27 in Middlesboro, 36 in Jackson, 30 in Irvin, and a quattro of 37-degree readings there in Ashland, Prestonsburg, Pikeville, and Logan. All right, so you're going to want to, if I get my words together here, get yourself a couple extra minutes to scrape the frost off this morning because it is out there. So just warm those cars up. And your 12-hour planner, 46 today for your daytime high. Lots of sunshine, but changes are coming. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Madison.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, Tears of Joy Phil McLaughlin Air National Guard Base in Charleston, West Virginia on Saturday as more than 100 soldiers came home from deployment in the Middle East. Soldiers of the West Virginia Army National Guard's 821st Horizontal Construction Company returned home after a 9-month deployment. While overseas, the soldiers supported several operations, and the welcome home came just hours after another group of soldiers left Charleston for the Middle East. And an update this morning on the health of Kentucky House Majority Floor Leader John Van Carney. Carney's brother posted on social media yesterday that the lawmaker is improving, but is still, quote, very sick. Carney got sick on December 22nd and has been in the ICU at a Louisville hospital following surgery. Carney's brother says he's still on a ventilator, but has been able to communicate since Thursday by shaking his head yes and no, blinking his eyes, and moving his hands and fingers. He says the family is encouraged by Carney's progress. And Attorney General Daniel Cameron took the oath of office at midnight to start his own term as Attorney General. Cameron was sworn in on December 17th after Governor Andy Beshear appointed Cameron to complete Beshear's term as Attorney General after he became governor. Yesterday marks the start of the term for which he was elected. And State Representative Charles Booker will run for the U.S. Senate in 2020. He made the announcement yesterday in Louisville, and Booker said back in November he was considering a run. He says he wants Mitch McConnell to be unseated. McConnell was elected when Booker was only 2 weeks old. Booker promised change because a life experience is not political.
Well, I can't think about anything being safe when I think about my cousin being murdered. This is not politics for me. This is about pushing for real change and stepping up and being bold and being what I can be, being the best asset I can be for this Commonwealth. And we need a movement. I know that. I'm uniquely prepared, so it's time to go.
Booker is fighting for the nomination alongside Amy McGrath, a former Marine fighter pilot. And lawyers for the Democrat-led House are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to immediately step in and decide the fate of the Affordable Care Act. A group of 20 Democratic-led states and the District of Columbia is joining the House and asking the Supreme Court to take it up during its current term. Last month, the Federal Appeals Court held the law's individual mandate was unconstitutional, but it sent the case back down to a lower court to decide whether other provisions of the law should remain in effect. If 4 justices agree to hear the case and expedite it for this term, it would mean the court would render a decision on the law this spring. And NASA had its first blood clot case in space. There was no protocol, so they contacted a University of North Carolina Chapel Hill doctor for his expertise. Brian Mims reports.
It is pretty heady stuff, getting a phone call like this.
I picked up the phone and NASA was on the phone, said it was urgent.
Did you catch that? NASA was on the phone. As a kid, Dr. Stefan Moll wanted to be an astronaut, so he was a little moon-eyed.
It was surprising. It was an honor. It was, I was curious to see where that would lead, yes.
It would lead to the International Space Station, where an astronaut had a blood clot. And Dr. Moll is a star when it comes to his blood clot expertise, having been published in medical journals. For privacy reasons, the astronaut is not identified, but the clot was found in the jugular vein. This was the first blood clot case in space, and NASA had no protocol.
So all decisions that had to be made were best guesses.
The doctor couldn't help but ask, would NASA send him to the station to examine the patient himself?
So I should really be taken up there. And their response was, we'll see what we can do and we'll get back to you.
Dr. Moll remained earthbound while consulting a team of NASA doctors. If the clot weren't treated, it could spread to the lungs or brain and become far more serious. The typical treatment on Earth is blood thinners. But how would they work in zero gravity?
So one needed to weigh the risk-benefit of starting a blood thinner or not using a blood thinner.
He and the team agreed to put the astronaut on blood thinners, with Dr. Moll directing the dosage. The space station had only a limited supply, but the treatment worked. Dr. Moll even had a phone call from his patient.
My wife picked up, and it actually was here's the International Space Station, and she handed it on to me saying there's somebody from out of space who wants to talk to you.
Enough to make a well-grounded doctor feel on top of the world.
Now the astronaut is now back here on Earth and is doing well. And a new proposal by members of the United Methodist Church could create a split in the denomination. A group of bishops and church leaders signed and released a 9-page plan on Friday, which will allow churches that disapprove of gay marriage and clergy to break off from the church. Both Methodist churches nearby say they have not made a decision yet on the split.
We hope they make the turn and they come back to what it means to see each other as all of God's children.
While a decision from the church is not expected until May, McCants is hopeful the change will be made. And Morehead State University has been ranked as the safest college campus in the state of Kentucky by the National Council for Home Safety and Security. The report is based off the crime rates and police adequacy. The study looks at crime reports from local law enforcement offices and the FBI. The school says it prides itself on a police department that is staffed 24/7. They also have a shuttle service to transport students at night. You can find a complete list of those schools on our website at WYMT.com. And some goodies stores in Eastern Kentucky are converting to Gordmans. Many of you shoppers might be taking advantage of the closing sales. And according to their website, Gordmans is hosting a job fair this week at several Eastern Kentucky locations. It will take place on Tuesday, January 7th, and a few locations include Harlan, Hazard, London, Paintsville, and Somerset. For a list of all the locations hiring, visit Gordmans.com/careers. And a community staple in Martin County will be locking up for the last time today. The Inez IGA has a long history, and the building has hosted a grocery store for around 60 years. The owner told WYMT it has been experiencing financial issues for years, and the store is set to close this evening at 5, and another IGA located in Warfield will remain open for business.
Forecast this morning over Pikeville looking pretty good. Not any clouds in the sky on the Pikeville Medical Center camera, and a beautiful start to the day there. A lot of folks going back to school this morning with some chilly temperatures. You see those on our temperature map here in the 30s and even some 20s across the area. 28 now in London, 27 Middlesboro and Jacksboro, but in the mid to upper 30s there in parts of the Big Sandy. 36 there in Pikeville this morning, 33 here in Hazard. Your out the door forecast. Temperatures are going to climb. It's going to be an absolutely beautiful day. Sunny skies and 46 this afternoon. It's tonight that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And of course, wintry mix, snow, rain. It's all possible overnight going into Tuesday. We'll keep you posted on that. And then we see a midweek break as we head toward Wednesday. Madison.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning. Here's a look at what's ahead. Iranian leaders are vowing revenge for the death of General Qasem Soleimani after he was killed in a U.S. airstrike. And in Kenya, 3 Americans were killed in a weekend attack carried out by Al-Shabaab, a group that has previously pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda.